Hi guys, welcome back to thormotorwerks, and on today's video I'm going to show you how to change the throttle body on your R52 or R53 Cooper S. So join me after the intro and let's get into it. So these mini W11 throttle bodies are pretty reliable. It's very rare that you get issues with them, but there are a couple of instances, especially as the car's getting older now. So I think the last car was made 2008, which means these cars will be over 15 years old now, so issues will start to creep in. However, these throttle bodies are made by Siemens VDO, and I mean, I've replaced a couple of them, but mainly because they've suffered damage from other work. So for example, head gasket replacement, someone's damaged one before. Doing the supercharger service, they've damaged it when they've removed the charge pipe. So those sort of examples are where you might suffer physical damage, and that's primarily when this would come in. Now for those with the engine management lights, if you're getting a P1125, a P1126 or a P0638 code, that is probably related to the throttle body. So in which case, this video will talk you through what checks to carry out if you get a second-hand unit delivered to you, because occasionally they do break in postage where people haven't packaged them up properly, and then we're going to fit it to the car, and then we're going to show you the adaptations menu in INPA for those users that have that software. Now if you don't have it, these throttle bodies are not coded to the car, so basically you can fit it and the car will self-learn over time, and that will be absolutely fine. It's not going to cause you any issues, it just means it will take a little bit longer for it to learn the fuel trim for your particular car. So what I'll do is we'll cut to the pre-checks and then we'll go to fitting it on the car. So this is the throttle body and the little rubber hose that we were sent by a seller on eBay, and there's a couple of pre-checks that we want to be carrying out before we start to strip our car down. So first of all, there is a part number listed on this black cover, so we want to just check that. So we're going to go on to Real OEM, pop that part number in and just make sure it comes up with R53 or R52 Cooper S. Now if it says this part number has been superseded by, it does mean it will still work. It just means that a revised part has come out since this one was manufactured, and that's fine. These aren't coded to the car, so you can fit any of these to any W11 engine and it will work fine. There is a little bit around fuel adaptations which I will cover off, but it's not necessary. So you can fit this and the car will learn over time. But if you want to sort of reset the car as such, you can go in and do that with a fuel computer. So you need specialist software for that, but I will show you that anyway, just in case you do have a copy of it. So if you're happy the part number's okay and it fits your car, you want to make sure there's no damage to this black cover. If this is cracked, split, looks like it's come apart before, I would probably just advise that you return it. You want one really that's just come off a car, is intact, hasn't been messed around with. So we'll turn this round. This brass connector here, we want to make sure this is in place and it's not loose or broken off. So give it a little wiggle, and if it's all tight then we're good to go. And then this black connector up here, we want to make sure there is no damage to that, and that this little bit on top here which holds the plug in place is intact. Check inside, there should be 6 pins, all should be straight and not bent. If that is good, what we will do, flip it over, and what we want to make sure, this red seal here is not damaged. So if it's split, been squashed, it's dry rotted out, then I would just replace this. You don't need to send the whole throttle body back. This is a consumable part. I think they're between £6 and £10, but if you want to change it while you've got the car apart, you might as well. So it just pulls out, put the new one in, and then when you mount it onto the charge pipe, it will squash down and form a good seal. And the last part while you're in here is to make sure that this isn't covered in grease and all build up of oil and that, because they can be quite dirty. So this one's got a little bit on there, and then finally just push the throttle body and make sure it all springs back into place. So there'll be a spring in the middle, pop your thumb in there, push it, it pops back, you're all good to go. So if you're happy with the throttle body, that's fine. If you do get this little bit of hose with it, the only things that you're really looking for on here
is that it's not been dry rotted. So the easy thing to do with that is just to give it a bit of a squeeze. And this one's not too bad for its age. There is a little bit of wear on there, you can see it starting to go around here, but it will do a turn. So if the one on your car is worse than the one that you've possibly been sent, then fit the one that you've been sent. That'll just prolong the life a little bit, and this hose will go onto a vacuum line, and then that will go along to the evap valve for your fuel tank. So yeah, you want to make sure that this is in as best condition as you can. If it's rotted out and you can't replace it, you can measure the inner diameter, and you can probably pick up a little bit of silicone hose and fit your own bit, because it only pushes on to the end of the vac hose. So I'll try and show you that when we do the car. But yeah, we're happy with everything there, so we're going to move out and start looking at getting the car apart just to get that in. So I'll show you how that goes. So this is the W11 engine, and our throttle body is located down here. Now, you don't have to take the intercooler cover off, but I am going to quickly do it just because it gives us a little bit more space to see what's going on. And this intake hose is going to have to come off as well, just to give us a bit more space. So let me just quickly get these out of the way. This is a T30 bolt, in case you want to do the same thing, if you haven't had them changed for some stainless steel options, because sometimes there are aftermarket kits out there that use Allen keys. Now, if you have one of those kits, that is entirely your choice. However, those Allen key kits are very soft, so I would advise against using them, because over time you will be running into a few issues. So gives us a little bit of a better view. This one has been replaced previously because this is using a Jubilee clip. Normally it will have these like spring clips to hold them in place, and that's fine. Let's see if I can get down there. That one's a little bit harder, a bit tight on space. Let's get that out of the way first of all. So I'm going to take this out quickly. So the way that I get these off is this little raised section here. I'll just slide a small screwdriver under and then just pop them off like that. You can reuse these, so keep them to one side. That will just pop off of there, and these are this little intake section, it just pushes in. So it is quite common for these to break because they are just plastic and they are quite old. This car's only done 50,000 miles, I think, so it's not had a hard life. So keep that out of the way. So there's two little tabs on the front there, you just push them down and slide it back, and then these ones on the bottom are more like locators, so they just slide into the front there. This resonator will just wiggle out with a bit of force, and what you have to do for that is, because it's got a long section on the bottom, you have to twist it out backwards. So this section here, because this is quite long, you have to sort of slide it that way, so towards the driver's side of the car if you're in the UK. And as you can see, this is the throttle body down here, so it's giving us a bit more access already, just taking out that pipe and the resonator, so that intake section and the resonator. Now we just need to get this clip off down here. As you can see, there isn't a huge amount of room, so just make do with what you can. And I'm not sure how much you can see, but if I show you down the back, down here, there is a connector that slides into the intake hose. So when you pull it off, if that's got a clip on there already, and I don't think this one has, you will need to loosen that off as well. So I'll show you when the pipe's out, but it gives you a bit of an idea of what I'm talking about ahead of time. So just make sure you do have a quick look down the back first of all. If there is a clip on there, make sure you loosen it off, because otherwise you're going to be wrestling for a while. So yeah, there you go. So there's a pipe there, it goes in. So now we've got the intake hose out of the way, we've got a little bit of a better view down the back, so I can show you, let me get a torch up there, what we are looking at. So here's the rubber hose that we spoke about a minute ago down the back here. As you can see, goes into that little brass connector. This is your electronic plug, and there are 4 bolts holding this in. So let me quickly take this off and get a little rubber hose out of the way, and then we'll get this throttle body out. I'll talk you through that process. I'll leave the torch up there for a minute. So this plug, the electronic one, just has a little tab on the top, so you literally just push that down on the top and slide it back, and that will come off, and I'll normally just tuck that up out of the way. And what we can do with this rubber hose is just pull that out of the way there. So all we've done is slide that off and pull that out, that little hose there. So the 4 bolts that hold this in are 10mm bolts. So I just use a little 1/4 inch socket set with an extension. So just a little tiny one like that, and undo the 4 bolts gently. Now I'll say that because if this has never come off before, there is a sort of brass nut or like retaining section in the black plastic charge pipe, and they can seize in. If you get that, what you can do is just put some WD-40 on there, leave it, so penetrating oil, anything like that, just leave it for a little bit and then come back to it, and it should loosen off. If it doesn't, then you may need to go a little bit further and strip the front end down, take the charge pipe off and try and get it out on a bench, because you can drill them out, but it is a lot of stress, and if you're not sure what you're doing, it's probably best to just take it to a specialist or a garage and get them to do it for you. This can be done by any competent DIYer with a socket set really. So this one is a little bit seized in. It is coming out slowly, so if it feels like it's tightening up a bit, you can go backwards and forwards a couple of times. That will probably help free it off a little bit and give yourself a little bit of a break in between time, because it will heat up and you will potentially snap the bolt. There we go. Right. So at this moment all the bolts are out, and there's a metal bracket down the back here that you can just about see where my finger is, and this will lift up and you need to take it towards the passenger side of the car. Now it will move, see, it's moving quite freely, but there are some little plastic retainers on the bottom, which I'll show you once this is out, that you will need to sit the throttle body on. If you don't sit them on there, what can happen is you'll break them off and they'll fall into the charge pipe. So let me get this out and then I'll show you them. So there's our throttle body. You can see it's a bit greasy inside. There's a little bit of oil there as well, which is normal. That does happen because of the charge pipe and the charge system. This hose is in better condition than our one, so we might try and swap that over, although that clip has definitely had it. There's a little bit there that's broken off. So yeah, let's pop that down there. Let me show you these little retainers just so you can see what I'm talking about. So put the torch down there, be a little bit easier. So I'm not sure if you can see, but where my finger is there and over here, there are two little knobbles that stick up, and on the bottom of the throttle body there are two areas that these will sit in. So if I put that back there and I'll show you, so there's one there and there is one there, and they will sit on those little plastic tabs there. So yeah, so what I'm going to do now is we'll cut it here. I'll clean this pipe up, get this off, and then we'll come back with the throttle body that we're going to fit, and I'll show you how to retrofit that back in. Right, so for those eagle-eyed among you, you'll notice that this hose is a little bit different to the one that was at the beginning of the video, and that's because the other hose is off an automatic, I believe. So I'm going to quickly fit this back in place, and then I'll talk you through the adaptations. But this is basically a reversal of the removal. So I'll quickly time lapse it going back together. Obviously if there's any questions, pop them in the comments below, but you can see this one is a lot cleaner. So yeah, we'll crack on with that. So I thought I'd just quickly show you how to put these clips on, or how I do it. So on this clip itself, it sort of just pushes together, but there is like a little notch on the clip itself. You can see here where my finger is, and that corresponds to like a little rubber notch on there. So all we're going to do is push it round, line the two notches up, and what I do is sort of hold it tight with one hand as best you can, pair of water pump pliers on the smallest setting, and then just squeeze them together so it sort of curls over the top, and that's it. Just a little tip there if you are struggling with them. If not, just replace them for Jubilee clips. That'd be a lot easier. So thank you for watching up to this point. If you are now done with the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Comment below if you want more how-to videos and on what subject. For those with INPA, I'm going to quickly show you how to get into the adaptations menu. So in this case, we want to be pushing F2 for R50, but on your version of INPA, this will probably be different because I've set mine up to have the R50 generation at the very top. This will take you into the main menu for the R50. And at this point, you can either push F5 to look at the existing fuel adaptations, or you can push F6 to go in and clear the adaptive values. So I'm going to quickly show you a screen that will have the fuel adaptations for this car as it currently stands. So I'm going to push F5 and then go into fuel menu. So this will show you this bar, which has the short term and relative long term set as 0 because it's recently been reset. At this point, we want to go back and clear them. So if you're going to clear, you want to push F10 to go back to the main menu, and then push F6, which will then bring you into this menu for resetting the adaptive values, which you can see is F3. And here's a list of the adaptive values that you can reset. If you want a more detailed guide on INPA, then comment below and I'll try and cover that off at a later date. But in the meantime, please consider liking and subscribing, and thank you for watching.